Jedi Survivor Steam reviews are in, and we have a lot of mixed reviews so far, as well as an update from Respawn themselves. There's also been multiple patches that have been kind of confusing because of the way they came out. We've had console people say that the performance on console is both insanely good and very rough, so the reviews are all over the place. But let's just jump right into it. What's up, world? It's back in the video, and today we're checking out all things Jedi Survivor. Let's just jump into what Respawn had to say about Jedi Survivor and the PC release. So the note here says, we are aware that Jedi Survivor isn't performing to our standards for a percentage of our PC players, in particular those with high-end machines or certain specific configurations. I have to say, I don't know how true that is because I saw Shroud and a few other streamers play it, and they could barely pull 70 FPS with their 4090s top-end machines. For example, players using cutting-edge multi-threaded chipsets designed for Windows 11 were encountering problems on Windows 10, or high-end GPUs coupled with lower-end CPUs are also saw unexpected frame loss. Rest assured we are working to address the cases quickly. While there is not a single comprehensive solution for PC performance, the team has been working on fixes we believe will improve across a spectrum of configurations. We are committed to fixing those issues as soon as possible, but each patch requires significant testing to ensure we don't introduce new problems. Thanks for understanding and apologize to any of our players experiencing these issues. We will continue to monitor performance across all platforms and share update timings as soon as it is available. Now, it's great that they are addressing it. I actually do appreciate that they put out this message here because a lot of companies would just say, well, no, it runs fine on PC. And no, it really doesn't. It shouldn't be running that bad on high-end hardware. The VRAM usage, the GPU usage, the CPU bottlenecks, it's all there. And really, it kind of is like a culmination of like every bad problem with a video game. At least as far as like a port goes, like this is pretty much like every worst nightmare for a port. There was a lot of confusion on the patches because they were like, well, is the day one patch still coming? Did the day one patch get baked into the pre-release? And people like SkillUp did confirm that the day one patch is already up in there, so if you're having problems already still, you've already received the day one patch. But there was 3 different patches. So there was a pre-release patch that the reviewers got, then there was a day 0 patch, and I believe that was on the 26th or 27th, and then there was the day 1 patch which came out late the 27th to the 28th. So every single person, all the consoles, all the PC releases, everybody has the day 1 patch. Just so there's no confusion there, because there was some with Hogwarts Legacy. People were like, oh, the day 1 patch is going to come out, and then the day 1 patch never came out because it was already pre-baked into the release. And, you know, this does seem to be reminiscent of a lot of PC ports lately. A lot of them have issues. You know, Last of Us Part 1 was pretty bad with VRAM usage. However, the game still ran fairly well for me, although I did have 64 gigabytes of RAM, and I did hear that if you had 32 or 16 gigabytes of RAM, that it was actually quite stuttery. So that could be because of my setup too, and how many problems that I encountered wasn't really that many in Last of Us Part 1. I did enjoy it because I never played the game before, and I don't have a PlayStation, and didn't since PlayStation 3. So for me, it was fine, but for others, I completely understand why the performance issues on that game, and especially Hogwarts Legacy. In fact, Hogwarts Legacy is the game that basically made me upgrade to 64 gigabytes of RAM, because when I went to 32 and 16, it was still stuttering. Well, I had to send back 32 gigabytes of RAM and get 64 just so that the game wouldn't stutter. And it still has its problems. You know, Hogwarts Legacy has its issue. And what's crazy enough is people really do think that this is going to be fixed sometime soon. And Hogwarts Legacy did have a patch right after release that did help a little bit. It was like a couple days or a week into release. However, after that point, and there was still problems with the PC release, it took them over 50 days to release a patch. So they kind of basically just said the game is what it is, and that's how most single-player games are. They're not going to be updated like crazy. So if the performance issues are really bad right now, I wouldn't expect any good fixes for many months. Also, the message that they displayed about not being up to their standards and all this and that, and saying that it's a Windows 11 problem, which is just not the case because Windows 11 actually offers worse performance in gaming. That's accounted for on multiple videos. So why release the game? Why would they release the game in this state? Especially when I'm watching streamers like Shroud and a few others who have their frame counters on, and it is absolutely horrid on their machines. Shroud's playing at 1440p, which is what I play at on a 2070. This man's playing on a 4090, and he can't even get over 70 to 80 FPS in certain scenarios. That's the type of frame rate that I get at high settings on most AAA games. So if I have a 2070 and it's barely doing that at the higher settings, and he's playing at the same settings and he has a 4090, it's not looking too good for the PC release. And it does suck that the PC port has been getting these kind of shafted releases so far. But as far as console goes, there's a lot of mixed reception with console too. Some people say it's great, it runs incredible, it plays well, and it might play well and be fun. However, it still seems like there is console problems, according to multiple accounts, that the frame rate is very jumpy. You know, for certain people's standards, it might be okay. They might play a game at 20 FPS and they think that's playable and that's perfectly fine. And someone said here that the performance mode is 1440p 60, but it's actually 1080p 45 FPS with dips and screen tearings and frame inconsistencies on the console as well. And I've heard mixed things, that the PlayStation was running worse than the Xbox version, and the PlayStation got a patch and then it was running better. Now the Xbox version is running worse. Also, the mention of top-end GPUs that was labeled there, it seems like it doesn't matter if you have a top-end or medium GPU. Mine would probably have just the same amount of issues, as well as others, so it doesn't make any sense. They just kind of like threw out and put Windows 10 and 11 in the mix there. And there's more accounts here for the Xbox Series X performance mode, and people are saying it's definitely not unplayable, but it's not great. In bigger open areas, there's a decent amount of screen tearing and stays around 40 FPS. Which is crazy, because usually Xboxes and consoles have their own proprietary V-Sync software that allows for like no screen tearing at all. That's why you always see games locked at like 30 FPS, 45 FPS, or with VRR at least, and then 60 FPS because they don't want to have that screen tearing on consoles. Whereas with PC, I'm kind of used to the screen tearing, although I have G-Sync, so I don't really get that. But this game is even getting screen tearing because it can't hold that 60 FPS mode and has those dips. And also, just for example about the CPU thing, the 7800X 3D is actually being bottlenecked. This is like the top performing CPU that you can get, probably one of the best on the market. And it is being bottlenecked and can't break 60 FPS at max, which is with a 4090 as well. Again, this is like multi-$1,000 hardware that can't do it, and of course the Xbox can't really do it either. But it just showcases to how bad the performance is if even having the hardware for it is still not able to push those higher end frame rates. And it does seem truly unfortunate because a lot of the people have been saying that the storyline is actually very good and it's actually very fun to play. And there's also an article here that states Electronic Arts' new Star Wars sequel was made in record time. Which again seems odd. If they made this game so quickly, why didn't they take the time to do the performance stuff? It seems like they thought they could get away with it, but now only after, with the Steam reviews being so negative. Seems like they're going back on that, but with EA, man, it really is kind of a disgrace that EA is just allowing these things to go through. I really did like Respawn because a lot of those guys are from the Halo 3 Modern Warfare 2 days, a lot of those developers there, or at least that's what they used to have there. I know a lot of developers quit recently, and Apex has lost a ton of talent. They've lost a ton of their lead developers, and you can definitely tell that even Apex has severely declined in quality and content. The new maps, even that I played on Apex, haven't been very fun. So Respawn is definitely taking a hit both in the QA department and their leadership department, and apparently whatever talented devs that they had there. Although if they made this game in record time, then again, why didn't they just put out the performance issues as I said earlier? Why wouldn't they fix that? Seems very odd and like a little cash grab for EA, and that is kind of really disrespectful to fans. In any case, I do hope that somewhat of the performance issues are fixed for you guys. I myself am not going to splurge on this game. I'm not purchasing the game on PC. I suggest that you do not play this game or purchase this game on PC until they fix these issues. But in any case, that does it for today's video. If you like it, and subscribe, and until the next one. Doop.